Lucius Cornelius Sulla Felix by Nicholas Otranto. Lucius Cornelius Sulla Felix, aka Sulla, was the most influential man of the Roman Republic, even more so than Caesar, given the fact that Sulla influenced him. His early life was not common for a patrician, since he grew up impoverished. Having to make do, he received an education and made friends with Rome's actors, comics, flute players, and dancers. While Sulla's military career was very decorated, his most famous wars were the Jugurthine, Civil, and Mithridatic Wars. He was then announced consul for life in 82 BC. However, he had many enemies in the Senate. To get rid of his political enemies, he issued proscriptions or bounty lists. After that, 1,500 nobles were reportedly killed in the encounter, but an estimated 9,000 casualties occurred during this time. With this done, he changed the Senate in numerous ways, expanding it, giving it more power, restricting the tribunes, and so on. He would later go on to step down from his seat of power in 81 BC, nearly a year later. He died in retirement 3 years later. 2,000 years later, Caesar, whom Sulla had spared and influenced, is now known worldwide, and even some of Sulla's reforms are still alive today. Robert C. Byrd used him as an example in his opposition to the Line Item Veto Act of '96. Robert C. Byrd also made a set of 13 speeches and created a book out of them called The Senate of the Roman Republic, which addresses on the history of the Roman Constitution. In these speeches, he would point out all the flaws and mistakes of the Roman Senate, using Sulla as a prime example. On line item veto, in its first use in American government, both the United States and the Confederacy originally had line item vetoing in their government. A line item veto is when the highest executive power is able to partially veto bills, thus allowing only desirable parts of a bill to be passed. In 1996, a bill was passed that allowed President Clinton to perform the line item veto. However, the Supreme Court declared the bill unconstitutional in its landmark case, Clinton versus the City of New York, in 1998, a mere 2 years later. In 2006, however, 8 years after the Act of '96 was rescinded, a weaker version of the bill was passed. It, again, allowed the President to partially veto a bill. However, this time, the changes required the approval of Congress as well. This was done to keep the President's power in check. If not for Sulla, our lives would be very different indeed. While many have forgotten him, Sulla still lives to this day in our governments and in its laws, unknown to us just how much he affects us today.